So this presentation is a little bit particular because I have no slide and I will do everything in the RStudio. So that is the editor I use for developing a Shiny app. I think it's the most adapted for developing Shiny app and also for coding with R. So for who are not familiar with RStudio, I will make a quick tour. So here you have a console where you have R that is running currently the version 4.5. In the console, you can do some basic operation. And you can have, like every editor, also some scripts. So you can load your scripts. And like this, you can keep your command here, and you can save your script, and you don't have to do it again every time. Here, if you see my mouse, you have another panel where you have a file explorer, where you can see the help for features, and you can see the plots when you plot a graph. And here you have another panel where you have listed all your environmental variables. In a script in R, for who are not very familiar with the R language, commented line, that means a line that will not be executed by the code, is start by an hashtag. So let's see some variables. So for instance, a variable can be numeric. So here I store into var1 the value 1. And if I execute this line, I can see the value of the var1 is 1. I can have the class of the variable. So you see that it's a numeric. I can make a variable var2. I can also, in a variable, put a character. And you see the class is a character. And I can do operation between variable, of course. So here you see the result is 15. Then you can apply some function, like the function sum. With argue, you can put on variable var1 or 2 or even a numeric. And you can test also if your variables are equal or not. Sorry for that. And here you see A is not equal to B, of course, because B is one more. So now if I do A, is it equal to B minus 1? It will tell me that is true. Okay, so you have another type of variable like the vectors. So vectors is a series of variable. So it can be a numeric, or you can also concatenate the vector like that, or it can be to make some operation on vectors like that, or a vector can also be a chain of character, a series of characters. So here I created many vectors, and if you put a character into a vector, all the vector will be character. So if you look the class of the vector 5, you will see that the vector is a character. To see the index of a vector, you can call them with like this. So here I look the 4th position of the vector 3, which is 132. Or I can also make another vector from a vector like this. So here I want a vector that is going from the index 5 to 8. Another type of variable is data frame. So you can create a data frame like that. So here I decide to have a data frame of 3 columns, a column name, a column width, and a column length. You can see your data frame here. So you have 3 columns. And you can also look into the console. Sorry. Like this. You have the 5 or 6 first lines of your data frame. To see the value of a column, you can use the dollar operator, or you can use the index of the column. So that means here that I want all the line because I put nothing in the first, and in the second, I put 2 like this. I have the value of the second column. That is the same column than width. And you can also call the column by its name. So you can also store the variable, the character width in the variable C and call the column like this. So it will be important later when we will develop the application. Then finally, when you have a data frame, you can use the function plot. And for instance, I want to plot the column width versus the column length of the data frame. And here you see you have the width and the length and your values there. To have the help about a function, you can type $plot. And here you have the help. And you see how the function is working. That's a very useful command that we will use a lot. So of course, here you see you have several arguments. So you have an arguments like main. So like this, you had a title. And you have also an argument for the axis legend, like the abscisses and the ordinates legends. So here you see the title and the axis legends. You have also other type of plot, like a bar plot. Here you see I ask to put the names here, but here there is no value, and that's normal because in my vector here I indicated that here there is no value. We not attribute, so NA means no value. So now I will show you how we make a function. So for instance, I will use the, I want to make a function that is plotting an image. For that, I need a library. So I can load my library by library imager. If I don't have the library, I can install it like that. Install packages imager. I can check the help of the function, and I see this function is working by having one single argument. That is the file, the path, or the URL of the image. So this function will basically store in the variable image the results of the function load image, set some parameters for graphical, and plot the image. So I execute the function. And if I look here, I have the function that is in my environmental variables. And I can here run my function with a single argument that is the path of the image. So here, if I displayed a geyser, it's because in R you have some datasets that are already included, like the dataset faithful. So if I just type faithful, you see that I have a data frame of 2 columns. The first line is the index. The second column is the column eruption, and the first column is the column eruptions, and the second column, the column weighting. So I can look the dimension of this data frame is 272 lines and 2 columns. I can have the preview of the data frame by using the column, and I can have the app about this data. So here you see that is the data from Yellowstones about a geyser, and the first column is the duration of an eruption, and the second column is the time between the eruptions. If I show you this, is that because you will see later in the templates that RStudio propose for a Shiny app, it is the data that are used inside. So now we will create the first Shiny app. So first you have to check if the library Shiny is installed. So if not, you will have this error, and you will have to install it by using this command line, install packages Shiny. Then you can go on this button or file, and you go to Shiny web app. Here you got the name, so my first app, very original name. And you can choose if you want one single file or 2 different files. Well, here we will see in one single file, but it's basically the same. That's just split the server part from the user interface part. If you don't do that, well, let's have one single. So you create, and here you see that there is a app script that appears. Of course, the first time you will use it, you will have a little bit more questions, probably. Here it describes what it's doing, and you see here you have the app. If you look correctly, what it's doing, so it's first loading the library chain. Then after you have a function UI, that is the user interface function. We will describe it later. And then another function, server, where our processes the data that we will display. If you look in detail the user interface, you see that you have a title that is Old Faithful Geyser Data, and you have a slider bar layout. We will see what it is. And inside, you have a slider input. And you have also a main panel that's probably plot something. And if you look this plot output, there is an argument that is this plot. And actually, this plot is there. Output this plot in the server is where you process this plot. So in the server, you see that you will render a plot, and you will render this plot. But let's try this application. So to try the application that we just opened, we just have to click on Run App. And here you can see the plot that is generated here, and the slider that is created here in the UI. And if you move the slider, it will change the number of bars in this graphic. And that is because the value of this slider, that is called bins, is here in the server, is processes here in the server, and we use as an argument of ist. So for instance, if here instead of pins, I put 10, I will have 10 bar here when I reload the app. And if I move the slider, it will do nothing. Well, I go back to bins, and you see here the number of bar is changing. You can also change things on the slider itself. So here you go to slider inputs. So bins is ID. Number of bins is the label. And you have a minimum bin that is 1. And to have an histogram with 1 bar is not very useful. So let's say the minimum to 10. And a maximum to 50. That is, for my taste, too much. So let's say 20. And a default value. So it could not be 30 anymore. So let's say 15. And if I reload the app, here you see the minimum is 10, maximum 20, and by default it's 15. And when you move it, you have different bars. Here in the user interface, you see that you have the title. So here you have the sidebar layout that is going until there. And inside you have a sidebar panel and the main panel. The sidebar panel is that gray area on the left. And the main panel is this panel there. So it allows you to split the layout here. Okay, so now you have seen how to generate with a template. So you can do with another dataset that is included in R, that is the dataset penguins. So first, let's have a look. So we can stop the app like this. So first, let's have a look of the dataset penguins. So I use my function display image to show you the vignette that should appear now here. Yes. So it's the package penguins. If you don't have the package penguins pre-installed in your version of R, you can install it. And then you have to load it and load the data that are inside. So these dataset penguins are the measurements of the Palmer archipelago in Antarctica. And it contains 344 individuals. And you can see that you have a data frame penguins with several columns. So you have the species, the island, the length of the bill, the beak, the depth of the beak, the flipper, and the body mass. So you have 3 species. So the species Ginstrap, Gento, and Adélie, and several measurements. Which are there. Takes a little bit of time to load the picture. Okay, so the length of the beak is depth, and I didn't know that the wing of a penguin is called a flipper. So let's try first to plot a simple diagram before to put in our app. So we have to sorry. Yeah. So we have to load some library. So we can we can start to make our own Shiny applications. So first, we will use the application here. So we load some libraries. Yeah, sorry. So we will load the library Shiny, the library tdverse, and the dplir that are useful for for the handling of data sets, of data frames. And we will change the title of the application. So here we will call it Archipelago. Then in the side panel, we will remove the slider. And instead, we will put some select input that are drop-down menus. So a select input has also an ID, and we call the first one measurement X. He has a label, like the slider had, and you have different choices. And as choices, I will choose the name of the column of the data frame penguins. And you can select one by default, and here I will select the first one. Here I create a second drop-down menu with a label, a measurement, with an ID measurement Y. And that is label, and the choices are the same, but by default, I will select build length. So here in the server, as I removed the slider, this will not work anymore. So I can also remove it. And instead, I will put the code to make a dual plot. Sorry, I lost it. So I will develop it. So we have a render plot. So we will just plot the values of what we have in this select input. And also in the second input. So if I run the app, I hope it will work. No, of course it doesn't. Okay. Let's so here the error is saying
Nicolas, sorry, I think there is a typo in the script. If you go to line 48, you use this paragraph sign, and there should be a dollar sign.
yes. Thank you. Okay. Of course, it always happens in life. I should know that. So here I will just type penguins dollar bill length and penguins dollar bill dip. Like this, we will have a static plot. Okay, so we have a static plot here, and here you have other select that we made. And what we want is to have this value. So we want X as input measurement X and put X here. And do the same thing for Y. What did I do wrong?
I think in line 50, there's like an error. There's that red cross Oh, no, not anymore. Okay, no, forget it. That's all.
No, it's okay. Um, not change anything. Okay. Okay, let's do something else. Let's try to okay. So I will go a little bit further. And I will use a library so here, and my output will be called scatter plot. And it will be a plotly output because I will use plotly instead of plot. Here I will do a render plotly instead of a render plot. X will be my input measurement X, Y will be my input measurement Y, D will be my data frame. That is penguins. And and here I have the function ggplot that take my data frame and aesthetics settings, and it will do the scatter plot, set the legend, and add legend to axis, and then I will generate the plot here with ggplotly. I have probably to load first the library plotly. Okay, I hope it works. Or object file not found, of course. Of course, I didn't set the palette, so I will set it. Well, we will set manually. So here I can set a palette that is called pal, and it's a vector, and colors are orange, purple, and CL4. And I think it's to be personalized dark orange. So here the PAL is there. And you can see Adélie will have the first value, Chinstrap the second value of the PAL, and Chinchu the third one. Okay, that works this time. And so you can see here you have a nice plot. And when you go over, you have for each individuals, you can see the year, the island, the sex, and the measurements of the peak depth and the peak length, because here I selected depth and length, but you can change it for flipper and body mass, for instance, and etc. And here you have the legend of the plot. So if I come back here now, so we modify it, and now we will add some filtering to the data set. So here I will create some checkboxes where I can select the species I want to display. So for doing that, I will put in my UE the checkboxes. So the checkboxes have also an ID. So it will be Adélie box for the Adélie species. It will be Chinstrap box for the Chinstrap, and Gintu box for Gintu. So let's go into the app. And in the side panel, so in the UE, so the title. So I am in the UE, and in the side panel under the select. So here I have to put a comma. I paste my checkboxes. So now, if I execute that, I add my checkboxes here, and of course, they do nothing because I didn't do anything in the server. And you can see here the checkboxes are checked by default because here I set the value to true. So now in the server, I had to create every time I check or uncheck checkbox, I have to create the data set, the data frames that corresponds to my selections. And I can't use penguins because penguins will have all these three species every time. So I have to do something to be able to have a data frame that will be always updated each time I will do a new selections. And for that, I have to create what we call a reactive function. So to create a reactive function, so we just use reactive, and we put a bracket like this, 2 brackets. And here, in this reactive function that I call filtered data, I will make the selection. To make the selection, I will first create a vector empty. And then I will concatenate this vector with the species that is selected. And for that, I make a test on the value of the checkbox. So here it's Adélie. So I check if Adélie checked, and if Adélie is checked, my selected species vector take itself and add the species Adélie. If not, it does nothing because the vector is empty. So it just put an empty vector in the selected species. And I do the same for every checkboxes and for every species. Like this, at the end, I have a vector of selected species that, in this case, it will have only Chinstrap and GAN2. And in this case, we'll have the tree. And if I uncheck this one, it will have only the species Adélie or GAN2. And this reactive function will be triggered every time I do any change. So if I change that, it will trigger the function. If I do that, so of course, it's stupid to do that. So every time I will do something, this reactive function filter data will be triggered. And then after, so when I filter these things, here I generate the data frame. And to have the data frame that corresponds to filter data, I will type filter data. I will type something like that, filter data, and I execute the function. So I take this reactive function that I just created, and I put in my server. We can put it just before rendering the plot here. So in my plot now, in my output, the render plotly, here instead of penguins, I will put the result of my reactive function filtered data. So here you can see now, if I uncheck the species, they change, and we are always all the same function. But I will have a problem if I okay. So Plotly, with Plotly we don't have the issue, but if we do with Plot, we will have an issue because we will have an empty data. And but that's not the case, so we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so now we have done that. What we can see now, so we can, for instance, to make it more shiny, we can add a picture. And we will try to add a picture here. So to add a picture, we will use this function. So when you put tags $ something, you can then after use function that actually reproduces HTML. So here it will be the same like a image tag in HTML, and in the image tag in HTML you have the argument source. And in source, we can put the address of the URL of a picture. And we can also put its width. And I want to put it here in the side panel, and I want it make 100% of the width of the side panel. And I will steal this picture here in this GitHub of Ali Sonhorst. You will find many on the internet, many GitHub and many forums where they use the penguin datasets, and you will have a very nice plot, and you can play around with that and see all the possibility you have to do. So here I will copy this line into my app in my user interface in UI, and I will put it under the checkboxes. So of course here I have to add a comma, and here I put the image. So here we have the penguins, and if I did correctly, the colors should match. So Gen 2 should be green. So yes, add the orange. So it works. Okay, so now we can see how to split the main panel. So to split the main panel, we can do like that. It's already 5 minutes left, so I will go faster. So a panel has the width of a panel will be a column. It's considered as a column, and the width is 12. So here I decide to split this main panel in 2 columns. A column of width 3 and a column with a width 9. So 9 plus 3 is 12. So it will be the entire things. And the first column will be 1/3 in width of the second column. And in the first column, I will do 2 plots with using Plotly. A first plot for the X measurement, and a second plot that is an histogram as well for the Y measurement. And I will set their size at 350 pixels each. So it will be half of it. And the size of the second column at 700 pixels, which is the double. So here I will have 1 histogram here, 1 histogram here, and the scatter plot here. So I put that into my UI. Sorry. Yes, into my UI instead of this line where I just have the scatter plot. And of course, I have to generate these histograms. Which are there. In the render Plotly. So I go into my server, I keep my reactive function, and in render Plotly, I put my 2, so the scatter plot that we just did that before, and histogram for the measurement Y and an histogram for the measurement X. Now, I can load the app. I hope it will work. Okay, so here we don't see anything very nice, but you can have it in your browser. And here it's a little bit nicer. I didn't expect this resolution with Zoom, so it's not very well adapted. It should take everything there, but that's something that we can change after. And here you see that the app is correctly working. Okay. So now you have done your app. What you can do is to publish it. And to publish it, it's very easy. So you click here on publish. Then here, publish. And you deploy it. You wait a little bit. It could take a little while according to the packages you have used and so on. And you can sometimes have some error like that. But yeah, of course, I'm sorry, I have an error. It's probably to the library that I used. So that things that I have to change, but it's very easy to publish by using this. And when you do some change, you can use the button publish and publish again. So that's pretty all. If you have any question, I will be happy to answer to them.